Spain defeated England 2-1 with a game-winning goal with the last few minutes left in the game from Mikel Oyarzabal to give them the 2-1 victory over England. It was Spain who took the lead first, straight out of the halftime locker room just to start off that second half. Lamine Yamal is able to find Nico Williams, and Nico Williams slots it home to make it 1-0. And then, out of nowhere in the 70th minute or so, I believe, out of nowhere, because they had no real sustained dominance, no real sustained pressure on Spain, out of nowhere, in the 73rd minute, England were able to counter. Bukayo Saka found himself acre in space, was able to bring the ball up, play it into Bellingham, who lays it off, one-touch layoff to Cole Palmer, and Cole Palmer nestles it into the back of the net and make it 1-1. And then on for the next few minutes or so, it seemed like, Spain could be a little bit in trouble, but Spain were able to withstand that pressure, just like how England were able to withstand the pressure after Spain went up 1-0 through some amazing saves from Pickford, by the way. But yeah, England, they were able to survive. Spain were able to survive that pressure. They slowly grew back into the game as the time went on. And a brilliant ball from Oyarzabal to Cucurella, and then Cucurella plays in another brilliant one-time ball into the path of Oyarzabal, who's able to get on the right side of Gehi and slots it away to make it 2-1 to essentially win the European Championship for Spain. Look, there's a lot of ways that you could break this down. There's plenty of ways that you could break this down, but I will say the better team won. The better team won. The team that looked more progressive, that looked more control of the game, that looked better throughout the entirety of the game, won the European Championship. And to be fair, it's not hugely surprising that Spain were the better team, because Spain have been performing much better than England at this European Championship. You go to the stats of this game, and Spain had 16 shots to England's 9, 6 shots on target for England. But the big stat is 66% possession for Spain compared to 34% for England. At this sort of level, the quality is very even. You could argue in terms of individual players, maybe England has a little bit more quality. But whatever you think, whoever you believe has more quality, there should not be a 66% possession gap to 34% for England. With the level of players that this England national team have, they should never have below 35% possession in the game. And for that to happen in a cup final, they were just completely outclassed. And, 2-1 made it seem a little bit closer than what it was. But to be honest, Pickford was probably England's man of the match in this game. So really, Spain really should have took care of that game in the beginning of that second half. Because once they went up 1-0, it just seemed like England were just reeling at that point. And Spain had, multiple opportunities to make it to multiple chances that they created, and multiple opportunities to create a chance where they just couldn't get that final ball right. And when they did get the final ball right, Pickford came up with the save. And yeah, honestly, Spain, they saved football. For England to win the European Championship, and with how dreadful that they've been, and the fact that they were 30 seconds away from getting knocked out by Slovakia in the round of 16, I think we got, football got saved. It was Spain winning this European Championship, because, at the end of the day, sometimes I understand playing pragmatic football and playing in transition, but this England team, they were just so woeful and so dreadful, and you know they didn't play pragmatic out of necessity. They had the quality of players to play up. And if not, if you want to play a little bit more pragmatic, at least be more appealing to watch. I've seen Mourinho teams in the past that they play an amazing transition system. You had no transition from England. They'd get sucked in, they'd get sucked in low, they'd get they'd get suffocated, they'll be pushed back, and if they once they regained the ball, they couldn't play out. It's the same story for this England team in these games. The way that England lost this game to Spain was the exact same way that they lost to Italy in the last European Championship final. It was the exact same way they lost to Croatia in the European Championship, in the World Cup in 2018. It was a little different with France because France plays different from Spain, Italy, and Croatia at those times, because France is more of a transition team themselves as well. They just happen to do it better than England. But the other games, Italy, Croatia, and now in this game, what happened? England would concede most of the ball. They'd get sucked in, they'd get suffocated, and once they get the ball back, they couldn't play out because of how deep that they were sucked in. They had no real outlet to play out. Happened over and over and over again, and it's the same story here again. It is the exact same story, and let's be honest, this is the first major team that they played at this European Championship, Spain. All the major teams were on one side of the bracket: Spain, France, Germany, Portugal to an extent. England, this was their first real major test out of the big teams, and 66% possession. And yes, they found themselves an opportunity to, potentially, push it to extra time. But for me, that's just the individual quality amongst these players. I don't want to rant too much on England. I do want to say Spain, they were absolutely brilliant. They were amazing this entire tournament. Rodri, he's been the player of the tournament, absolute class. In his first real tournament has been the composer for Spain because he hasn't really got to play that position. He's been great. Fabian Ruiz controlled the game next to him. Dani Olmo, in the opportunities he's had while he's played, he's been amazing in terms of making late runs into the box. And, he kind of plays that, Dani Olmo, similar to Cole Palmer in the sense that he has the capacity to get in and score a goal. He's kind of a hybrid, can play midfield and wing, and he does it so well, and he picks up brilliant pocket of spaces. The defense, the back line, you look at a center-back partnership, Lenormand and Laporte. These are two guys that were kind of French castaways. They're French, but they couldn't. But they had a brilliant tournament. Cucurella, there's been major criticism over the past few years at Chelsea, but this tournament, he's been sensational. Carvajal, the same. But obviously, the big story amongst these is these two wingers, Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, the future for Spain, the next 15 years for Spain. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Lamine Yamal, first player ever to be involved in a goal or assist, round 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, final, and he did that at 16 majority of the tournament. 16 majority of the tournament, 17, he just turned 17 a day before the final. That was the only game he played as a 17-year-old, and it was early 17. Just sensational. You can't put into words how great that is. The Spain team, they're very, very good. They're the best team. I said this early on, but I said this is the best team since the dominant Spain teams from 2008 and 12, and they've proven me right because they've been absolutely brilliant this tournament. The way that they knocked out the host in the quarterfinal, they got past France despite conceding early, despite going down early, and then they took care of England. The run that they had at this European Championship, beating Croatia, beating Italy, Albania, Georgia, France, and Germany, and then England. That's an amazing run. That's an amazing run. We cannot say that they're nothing but worthy. They're by far worthy, and we'll talk about this later on. But this Spain team potentially in result of dominance. Going back to England, individual players, Harry Kane, he no he didn't really provide no runs in from behind. That's not really his game, but he's had an element of being a little bit vertical. If he drop it in midfield, he wouldn't be effective because there was no real runners. He was kind of dropping down just really to draw a foul. Just didn't look at the levels. Saka, he was decent. Foden, nothing this tournament, to be fair. He was, he was pretty bad. And for me, Kane, Bellingham, Foden, Saka, this front four, they've been or front three with Bellingham under them, they've been horrible. But Gareth Southgate has continued repeatedly to choose them. We'll talk about this in a later segment when we talk about him. This doesn't make sense to me. Declan Rice, I thought sometimes his progression play was bad. I thought some moments he was decent. I thought the back four was the strong part of this team. The back four and Pickford, the strong part of this team, and pushed them to get here. But apart from that, and then Jude Bellingham, for me, I think he's been very poor at this tournament. I think he had that one individual moment of quality where he dropped those two Spanish players and whisked the shot wide. But apart from that, I thought it was poor. I thought his attitude has been poor this entire tournament. Falling on the floor, whinging at every call. But in this entire tournament, he's been poor. Besides that one moment of magic that pushed England past Slovakia, and you could say that got them to the final, because without that, they would have got eliminated. But apart from that, I thought he's been really, really poor this entire tournament. I think his attitude has been bad. Yeah, there's the things I'm hearing, regarding, how people in the locker room perceive him, and honestly, wouldn't surprise me, because some things that I think he does on the pitch is kind of attention seeking, in my opinion. It's the way he whinges on the floor. It really rubs me the wrong way. I don't want to make this too personal, but yeah, he was nowhere near Ballon d'Or level, and I think this final, kind of guaranteed that he's not winning the Ballon d'Or, which, yeah.